Looks like the instructions are 26 pages. Nope, I'm just going to lay everything out. And then I'm going to go page by page, step by step, see how it goes. Good morning, guys. What about a cold start on this Mach 1? It's been a while, and we've had weather here that's been down around 0. You've probably seen it on the news. A whole lot of the country's been enveloped in this really cold weather over the last week or so. We've been down around 0 or below, and we've had wind chill values that have been way below 0. And of course the car's just been sitting out here in the barn, and I don't have electricity out here, so I can't run a battery tender on it. So I came out this morning to see if it would start, and thankfully it started right up, so that's good news. It's February, obviously, and I'm starting to get the itch to get this thing out for spring, but obviously we've got another month or so of cold weather. We've got freezing fog out there this morning, actually, so it's going to be a little while longer. But anyway, I got a project going on today with the Jeep, and I'm going to show you guys the new Trektop for JL Wrangler here in just a minute. You're gonna help me out, Dixie? I gotta be really careful out here this morning because it's solid ice. You probably can't see it, but I mean, it's just like a skating rink out here, so I gotta be really careful. So because of all the winter weather that we've had, my Jeep looked like a McDonald's French fry yesterday. It was completely covered in road salt. And since I'm gonna be taking the hardtop off to store it away, I wanted to get it all clean, get everything cleaned down, get the salt off of it. So I washed it. Had no choice but to go ahead and wash it, and of course everything froze on it. I don't normally do that, of course, but hey, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. But man, that's the first time I've seen it clean in, gosh, probably 2 or 3 months. So anyway, I gotta take the Sun Rider for hardtop back off, and I'm gonna stick it back in its box. And then, of course, like I just said, I got to take the hardtop off, and I'm going to set it in the barn so it's out of the weather. And then we'll go ahead and put the Trektop on. Now, I'm not going to do a step-by-step detailed installation video for the Trektop because that's already on YouTube. Bestop did one of those themselves. They have a video on there where they show you all the steps to install it. So I'm not going to do that. But what I thought I would do is just show you some, basically an overview of what it takes to put one on, how long it takes to do it, and more importantly, I'm going to show you what it looks like on the Jeep and how it works. And then we're going to do some testing with it this week in the cold weather, in the rain. We're going to take it out on the highway and see how noisy it is or isn't, and just kind of do a review on it over these next several weeks, okay? Because I know a lot of guys are interested in the Trektop, and now that they're finally shipping, a lot of guys are going to be shopping them. So hopefully we can give you a little bit of information on how the Trektop works on the JL Wrangler. So if I can get my lovely assistant over there to go get it, we will begin. Hey, check it out. It's 31 degrees. We're almost back to freezing. So since it's been so cold outside, what I decided to do is all the pre-assembly that I could do in the house. So my wife was gracious enough to let me take up all the space in the living room, and I basically just laid everything out piece by piece, all the nuts and bolts, everything was organized, and then I went through the instructions and did all the pre-assembly that I could right here in the living room where it's nice and toasty, and I made it all the way to page 10. So obviously this is the part where we have to start putting the door rails on the Jeep. Everything else from here on is going to be done on the Jeep. So we got pretty far last night already, and it took me about an hour and a half to get to this point. So I've got the door rails assembled. There's the rear door rails. I've got the front door rails, which I'm going to be putting on next. And then of course this is the part on the rear of the tub. And then those are the bows that you install, and then you can throw the fabric over all of it. These arms right here go on the Sunrider part so that you can operate the open and close Sunrider portion. And of course, with the fabric laying in here in the living room, it's nice and warm and toasty, which hopefully will allow me to stretch this thing out a whole lot easier when I get ready for this step. So this is the twill fabric, and the twill fabric, if you haven't seen this, is really thick. Compared to the black diamond, this is really, really thick material. Almost feels like a heavy duty, it's a really heavy duty canvas type feel. And this is the one that I think has the best warranty on it. Lifetime warranty, I believe, on these twill ones. So hopefully this is going to work out really good for a long, long time. Now, unfortunately, the Trektop has these Z clips, just like the Sunrider for Bestop that I have on the Jeep now. It's got those same little Z clips, which I absolutely hate. And that's going to be one of the recommendations that I give to them. They can come up with something better than this. I know they can. I hate these things. And I've seen other guys who've broken these things during installation. So you got to be really careful with those things. But we'll get to that in just a little while. I just wanted to show you, I got the windows over there. So if it's really cold outside, this is an option that you've got. You can kind of assemble a lot of it and get a good head start inside the house, and then go out and finish it up real quick. Okay, so we got the hardtop off. I took the Bestop Sunrider for hardtop off and stuck it back in its box. Those pieces go to the Trektop, ignore that. But I put the Sunrider for Bestop hardtop. Let me try that again. The Sunrider for hardtop, I put that back in its box so that it will stay clean and the fabric will stay nice when I put it in the barn. And so I got my door rails out here for the Trektop, which I'm getting ready to start putting on now. So that's the next step, is putting the door rails on. And then we've got those bows we have to put on. We start with this back one that they call the number 4 bow. You can see the holes for it. There's one there and one there, and then you just kind of go forward. And you got a number 3 bow, number 2 bow, then you do the Sunrider, and then you can lay the fabric on. So let's get started. Alright guys, so if you've done a whole lot of these soft tops for Jeeps, then I guess you could get to where you're sort of a seasoned pro and you can just fly right through it. But if this is the first time you've ever done a soft top, here's what I recommend. It's kind of like painting. Your prep work makes all the difference in the world. So the most difficult part of this soft top, any soft top, is going to be sorting out the hardware and figuring out what hardware to use and which steps. So the first thing I did was I grouped all of the bolts and nuts and washers and these little bushings. I grouped them all together by like kind. And that way, when I go through the steps, it's easier to identify what you need in each step. So I know this takes a few minutes to do. It's not a big deal, but I strongly recommend that you do this. And of course, the L81 soda helps out a whole lot. So do this and it'll save you some time in the long run. All right, so I got all my door rails on. I've checked my weather seals to make sure that they're meeting up with the door rails the way they're supposed to, in the front and in the rear as well. You can see how the door rail just kind of fits down in there, nice and neat. I can get the camera to focus. So now that the door rails are on, we're ready to move along to the bows and try to get them along the roof. All right, so I almost forgot, before you start putting the bows across the roof, you got to put this part on the rear of the tub. This is the easiest part of all because it has a locating tab right around in this area that helps you get it right in position. And then you got this 1T50 Torx bolt, and that's all there is to it. Now this is what your tailgate bar is going to pop into. So you got to pop those on there. Now you're going to need a mixture of tools. I got lucky and I already had a set of these Torx bits. Some of the instructions said to use a T8, which I don't have in this kit. The smallest thing in this kit's a 10, but I found that the 10 fit the ones that it called for an 8 just fine. So I don't know what's up with that, but if you have at least a 10, you'll be able to do the pre-assembly part that I did last night. And then these things took a T50, which I think a T50 is one that's included in that Jeep toolkit that they give you with the Wrangler. But just in case you've lost that or don't have it, you'll need a T50 also. Best thing to do is just buy a set of these, because if you own a Jeep, you're going to end up using these things anyway. You're also going to need the hex head, the Allen head sockets. Those are really handy also. And you're going to need a mixture of these and the Allen head ones to do the installation on this thing, okay? All right, so here's where I'm at. I've got the header bar and the Sunrider portion laying on top here. And this part of the instructions where you have to attach that side bow to the Sunrider, it's a little bit confusing. I've taken this apart 2 or 3 times because there's a certain orientation that those two pieces have to be in. You got a little dip in the bar right there that's supposed to go down, and you got a pin right there. There's a particular orientation you've got to get these in. It's kind of like a puzzle. And like I said, I've done this 2 or 3 times and it's still wrong apparently because everything's not lining up. So I've been eyeballing the directions here, trying to figure out which way to put these on. I'm gonna have to take it apart again, I think. So this is really this is the first hang up that I've had during installation. You know, it has not been difficult, it's just been time consuming, but it's not hard to do. But this is the first thing that's kind of stumped me. So, but you can see I've got the number 3 bow installed. The number 4 bow back there is installed. I got the number 2 bow right here installed. So now it's just a matter of putting this stuff together and I'll be close to getting done with this. So let me take this back apart again, see if I can figure out which way to put these things on, and then we'll go from there. In order to do that though, you got to have some really small tools. In fact, I didn't have an Allen head socket small enough, so I had to get out this little dude right here. It's got some really small ones down underneath there. And I had to use that with an 8mm wrench to take all that apart. So let's try it again, see what happens. So I finally figured out which way this goes. And I just wanted to show you here. So you got a little pin there that goes on the inside. And then in the front, see, there's the front where the header bar is. That's the way it's supposed to be oriented. So again, this is just, you can see how it all lines up and looks normal now. So this is the way it's supposed to be oriented. So I've got the 2 bar here, got the header on, everything's bolted down, the 3 and the 4 bars back there. There we go. So now we're ready to fold the fabric over the Jeep and start attaching things. Now I don't know exactly what the purpose of this mesh panel is, but it just kind of bolted on along with the bows. So as you screw the bows down, the fabric goes in there with them. Don't know what the purpose of it is, but it's there nonetheless, so we used it. All right, so now we're ready to take this fabric and drape it over the Jeep and finish this thing up. So let's get to it. I'm gonna go over here so I can get a better angle of it, but as you open the Sunrider, you can see how it all works. So it all works together. Now, after you fold the Sunrider back, then we have to go find these Z clips. There it is. There's that little Z clip, the bane of my existence. And you just stick that Z clip into the hole back here on the back. You got to do that on both sides. So we'll get that done, and then we'll start attaching. Now you got these little Velcro pieces you got to put on the bar back there, which I've already done. So we'll start stretching this thing out. Okay, so this is the reason why you're supposed to install these on a very warm day. You can see where the hook and loop is supposed to come around the bar and attach there. And there's just no way, there's no way. Can't even get it around the bar, much less far enough to attach over there. So since the sun's out, I'm gonna have to, it's this nice sunny day, I'm gonna have to let this thing heat up and try to get the fabric to stretch out a little bit more, I guess, so I can do this part and get these bars wrapped up. So this is the reason why they tell you to do it if it's 70 degrees outside instead of 35 or 40. But we're getting close though. This is not very easy. All right, so I'm finishing up the installation of the Trektop for JL Wrangler, and there's what she looks like. You've got Bestop logos all over the place. There's one up there, one down here. There's a tag over on the other side that says Bestop on it right here. But hey, I guess that's okay. So, you know, again, like we talked about a minute ago, installation went pretty smoothly. The only hang up was up there in the front where the bars connect for the Sunrider feature so it can fold. That was a little bit confusing, but once I looked at the picture some more, I also watched the video that Bestop has online, the installation video. I watched it a few times and everything went pretty well. Now of course it's a cold day out here. I think we're up in the mid 40s now and the sun is out. You're supposed to do this when it's warmer than this. So I've had some trouble stretching the fabric out, and now I'm having some trouble getting these zippers here on the rear windows because I think the rear window is just cold, and I'm gonna have to give it some time here to warm up in the sun. Maybe I can finish zipping it up, and then I'm gonna let it sit in the sun the rest of the day to stretch out a little bit. But that's what she looks like. The window has got a little bit of a wave in it, and I've seen some guys online that have had that issue, and they've had Bestop send them a new rear window, which has corrected the problem. So if the sun doesn't take these waves out, I may contact them and see if they can do that for me as well. But looks pretty good. Now, obviously the thing about the Trektop is that it doesn't have framework like the factory top. And because of that, you get that fastback look. It's very subjective. Some guys love it, some guys hate it. I'll be honest with you, I was never a fan of it. I'm just not really a fan of that fastback look, but it's growing on me a little bit. So I'll run this for a while and see how I like it. I just kind of, I guess I'm old-fashioned and traditional. I like that boxy look to an SUV, and this kind of alters the shape and appearance of the Jeep, and I just don't really like it. Plus, if you camp, you're losing all that cargo space right there, that wedge that's gone now. I don't know how many cubic feet of cargo space that is, but you lose a lot of space to haul camping gear in the back. So that's another consideration. But, the plus side is you don't have all that hardware and bows back here to fold. And, when you take the windows out, you don't have anything sitting on the back of the door. So there's some pros and cons to this, of course. Now, the big thing I'm going to be interested in is how it handles the rain, the car wash. When we have storms, is it going to be watertight? Is it going to be quiet out on the highway? That's what we really want to know. So can't wait to find that out. I really like the pockets they put inside too. Got those neat little map pockets up there that you can store things in. That's a nice little touch. So pretty cool. You can see that twill fabric if I can get this camera to focus. Again, very thick, very nice fabric. So can't wait to run it down the road, guys, and see what it sounds like. But I'm just glad that's over with. Got a nice sunny day before the snow and the cold weather hits again. The weather's going to go back downhill again in a couple of days, so I'm glad I was able to take advantage of this sunny day and get this done. All in all, the instructions said 4 hours. I think that's pretty accurate. I've got about 4 hours in it. I'm somewhat mechanically inclined, more than average, I would say. I'm not a mechanic by trade, but I've done a lot of my own work over the years on things, and it took me about 4 hours, just like the instructions said. So you can probably count on that being pretty accurate, especially if it's the first time you've ever done one. So there you go, guys. I'll be posting some more info on this Trektop as time goes on, and let you know how it works out for me. So you guys have a good rest of the day. So of course, functionally, a big difference between the hard top and the soft top is that with the hard top, you can just grab the window, flip it up out of the way, so you can access the cargo area. With the soft top, it takes quite a bit more time because you have to manipulate the zippers. You got to pull the tailgate bar out and either fold it up on top or something, So it does make getting into the cargo area a little bit more difficult. Now you can slide up in here with your head and then kind of access your stuff, but it does slow things down just a little bit. But again, that's one of those things that, depending on your usage of the Jeep, you know, a lot of guys don't put stuff in the cargo area very much. You're not accessing it every day, so you don't mind the trade-off, you know. Just kind of depends on what you're using it for. Now I'm going to get inside and look out the back from the driver's seat and try to get a view for you to see what that looks like. All right, so here we are in the front looking out the back, and of course the visibility is a little different because obviously you don't have a glass window, but you can still see just fine. You know, you can see there's plenty of visibility out the back corner back there. Those quarter windows have good visibility, and so you can still see pretty well. And obviously the JL has that standard backup camera, which really helps a lot. So I don't see this being a big problem. And here's my view out of the rear view mirror. And again, you can still see pretty well. Now, if you're in winter weather with snow and ice and rain and there's road salt all over the back of the Jeep, you don't have the wiper back there anymore, so I guess that could be a different story. You maybe could have some visibility issues out the back in foul weather since you can't clean it. But you know, when the weather's nice, it's not really much different than the hardtop. You can still see plenty good enough. All right, guys, so it's 57 degrees, the sun's out, and the wind is really light today. So it's one of the nicer days we've had in a long time. Let's head on down the highway here. Be a good time to do a review on the sound level inside the Jeep with this Trektop on here. So here we go, taking a nice ride, headed northbound on the highway. A lot of people out today with their motorcycles because it's been so cold for so long now that you get a day like this and it gives you spring fever, you know. So there's a lot of sports cars and motorcycles out. So looks like we're up to about 60 miles an hour right now. Can you hear it? I gotta tell you guys, this thing is pretty quiet. I'll try to speed up just a little bit more here. Get up around 65 or so if we can. There we go, we're at 65 now. I don't know if the phone, I'm using my phone here. I don't know if it's gonna pick it up very well, but it's really quiet. I'm impressed. Not bad at all. I'll tell you what, it's compared to the hardtop, it's really not much louder at all. Maybe very, very similar in terms of wind noise. I don't hear any noise coming from the rear back there at all. There's a little bit of wind noise up here above my head, but that was the case even with the hardtop. And it was the case with the Sunrider for hardtop too, so that hasn't changed at all. You know, I feel like that if my wife was in here with me right now, we could have a conversation just fine. There's no flapping going on at all. Everything seems nice and snug. It's not moving around or anything. Not bad. Not bad at all. I think this top might be all right. You know, I'm gonna slow down here for this traffic signal, but we got up to 65 miles an hour there, and it wasn't really loud at all. Not bad. So seems like everything's gonna be a-okay. This is a good day for the fabric to kind of stretch out a little bit too. Getting close to 60 degrees here with the sun out, so be a good time to have this thing out of the garage and out on the road and let it kind of stretch and fit a little better. So not bad, guys, not bad at all. I'm very impressed. Looks like we got a good product here, and with a twill fabric, you know, it's supposed to be the kind of fabric that'll last you a lifetime. So I'm impressed. All right, I'm gonna turn this camera off now so I can drive down the road here. But I just wanted to give you guys a little representation of what it's like in here. So pretty good. All right, guys, have a good one.